So the first thing we would need to do if we want to create a navbar is obviously start adding our HTML, right? So the first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a nav element over here, and within the nav element we're actually going to first place a button, and we're going to say that this is going to be div that has a class of button, right? It's going to serve as our logo, as our button, right? Over here, the toggle button. Now over here, what I'm going to say that within this div, we're actually going to place a link over here that is going to have a href attribute over here. And over here, we would be placing a image. However, for now, I'm just going to leave this empty because I want to show you why I'm actually doing that. Now, after that, what we would want to do is actually create a unordered list over here like this, which is going to be our navbar. And over here, our unordered list is going to have a class, and the name of the class is going to be menu. And again, we'll be using these two classes actually when we'll be actually dealing with a toggle menu. So just bear with me right now. They're not going to mean anything, but later on we're going to be actually creating our toggle menu and everything. Then we're going to be using these classes. And over here, I'm going to create a list item, and obviously I'm going to create them as a link over here. So I'm going to say that there's going to be a link over here. And right away over here, I'm just going to create a icon. So I'm going to say span that has a class, and the class is going to be, in this case, fa active, right? So I'm going to say fa home over here like this. So this is going to be my span. So this is going to be my home. And over here, I'm obviously going to write this is home, right? And I'm just going to create a little bit more space over here. Now what I'm going to be doing is, and right away, I'm going to add over here class active. And again, once we're going to start styling, you'll see why I'm doing this. But just bear with me, and this is going to be class active. Now, what we want to do right now is actually we want to create a couple of more list items. So I'm going to say, again, list item. And this is going to be a href over here that has a hashtag. And over here, again, we're going to create a span. And the span is going to have a class. Then class is going to be fa info over here like this, and we're going to close it out, and we're just going to say that this is info. Now again, I'm just going to create a little bit more space, and what I'm going to do in this case, I'm just going to select the line over here like this, and I'm just going to copy it 2 more times, right? And over here, what we're going to say that this is going to be a about over here like this, and over here we're going to say that this is going to be coffee over here like this, and last one we're going to create is as a survey. But however, because people hate adding surveys, we're just going to create a fa bomb over here like this. So something like this, right? So now that we're pretty much done with HTML to our navbar, we need to go to main CSS and actually start styling. Now there's a couple of things that I want to tell you how we're going to be creating this website. Well, first of all, our default view is going to be this one. So we'll be starting with the mobile. So I'm only going to be adding media queries once we're actually creating our screen bigger, right? Instead of actually starting from the bigger and then making media queries smaller, we're actually going to make media queries from the mobile. So this is going to be our original view. Whatever we're going to be writing here actually is going to be affecting our mobile view, not the whole page view, right? So that's the first thing. Now, another thing that I want to tell you that right away we're going to be using a EM values, not the pixels. And the reason why we're going to be using the pixels because you obviously want to actually your elements to be resizing regarding how big is the screen, right? Or regarding how actually your customer, whoever is visiting you, your website, how he has set up the actual his preferences to his fonts to be viewed. Because if you're using set height or let's say width of pixels, it actually messes up how actually the page is viewed. So we are going to be using the EM values, not the pixel values. And before we actually just style the navbar, I want to add some classes that are going to be general for the whole document. And what I'm going to say that I want to select actually all the elements that I'm going to be creating over here. And for now it's just a navbar, but it's actually going to be the whole page. And I'm going to say that I want a margin 0, padding 0. And over here I'm going to say that box sizing over here like this is going to be border box, right? So again, this is going to affect all our elements, not just the ones that we're creating right now, right? And after that, we're going to say that we would want to select the body. And for our body, we would want a font family to be monospace over here like this. So I'm going to say monospace. And after that, we're going to create, and you can see that I messed up over here. I needed to add a semicolon. After that, we're going to say that the font size is going to be 100%. And again, you can see that right now, if I set it to 100%, and then I'm going to be working with actually EM values, right? It's going to be really easy for me, right? I won't going to have to worry about the pixels or how they're going to be changing as the screen is changing. I'm just going to set the font size to 100%, and then I'm going to be working with the EMs. So here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to write that the line height is going to be 1.5 EM. And let's say the background color, the whole body, we're just going to make it something very boring like wheat, right? And this is really not going to be a video about how we should actually adding colors to the website. It's more like how we can actually make this website. Now, I also want to right away create over here this class that we're going to be later on adding, and this is going to be a clear fix class. And once we're actually going to be covering, I'm going to explain to you everything about it. However, right now we're just going to write clear fix, and we have a pseudo class before. And over here, we're going to write a clear fix over here, and we're going to write after over here like this. And then we're going to say a couple of things that we would want to happen, right? First, we would want a content over here to be a empty over here like this. After that, we would want to be display as a table over here like this. And after that, what we're going to do is actually, we're just going to select the clear fix after. Clear fix, and this is going to be after pseudo class again. And over here, we're going to say that we would want a clear both, right? And again, once we get to it, I will explain to you, but just follow along, and we're going to get there in no time. And after that, what I would want to do is actually select a heading once. And I'm going to say that all my heading ones are going to be like font size, like 3 EMs, something like that. So all the heading ones that I'm going to be creating, unless I specifically say in some other paragraph or something that I wanted different, they're going to be 3 EMs. And heading 2s are going to be, let's say, we're going to say that the font size over here is going to be 2 EM. So here I have font size. I'm going to say that this is going to be 2 EM. And after that, I'm going to say that the line height for the heading 2 is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to say this is going to be 0.9 EM. After that, I'm going to say that all my H2s, all my heading 2s, are going to have a text transform property over here as well. Transform, and it's going to have a text transform of uppercase over here like this, and the padding is going to be 0.5 EM. So I'm going to write padding 0.5 EM, right? So this is pretty much we're dealing right now with a heading 1 and heading 2. Now we're pretty much done with setting a like general rules that we're going to be working with, and I think that it's pretty much a time where we can actually work with our navbar, right? So the first thing that I would want to do is actually create a nav, and I'm going to say that UL, and this is going to have a list style type none over here, list style type, and I'm going to say none over here like this. And once we set the list style type to none, let's actually jump and start styling over here this button and actual list items, right? So we go back to main CSS. And we would want to say that we would want a nav and UL, li, and also we would want a div that has a class button, right? Because that's what we created. And over here, we're going to say that they're going to be display, and they're going to be display block. And after that, we're going to say that the width is going to be 100%, because again, remember that we're actually styling for the right away for the smaller screen. So we're going to be starting from here, right? So this is how we want it to be look actually in the smaller screen. And over here, I'm just going to say a background color. And I'm going to say that the background color is going to be very simple. It's actually going to be 6 5s. So 555, 555, right? This is going to be our background color. So after we have added a background color, the next thing what we want to do is text align, and we would want to have a text align center. And over here, we're going to write a font size, and we're going to say that the font size is going to be something like 1.2 EMs, right? So 1.2 EM over here like this. And after that, we're pretty much done with this, both of them with li and div button. And the next thing what we would want to do is actually style the div, right? Div button, right? So over here, I write div button, and I would say that I would want a height to be a little bit bigger. I'm going to say this is going to be 4 EM over here. And after that, I'm going to say that the background color is going to be red. Red over here, not red purple. I want red. So this is going to be my background color. But now you can see that since I have created over here this height, right? Now I can go back to index HTML, and over here we're going to add right away a image. So I'm going to write over here is going to be image. It's going to have a source, and over here I'm just going to say that this is going to be not CSS. It's just going to be actually image, and it's going to be images. And over here I'm going to go for my transparent custom one, and right away what I'm going to do over here is height. And I'm going to set the height to be 100%, right? Because I want my image right away, you see, fit nicely right in here, right? I don't want it to mess around with it and start playing with margins or something like that. Since I have the height right now for my button over here, I can place it just by placing a height for 100%, right? Now, what I would want to do after that is actually start styling my links. So I'll write nav, ul, li, a over here, and now you can see that I'm affecting links, right? So now obviously the first thing we would want is display block over here, and after that we would want a text decoration to be none. So we go text decoration none, and after that we say that we would want a color to be red over here like this, and after that we would want to probably have a height, right? So we're gonna have height, and we're going to say that this is going to be like 3 EMs, right? So a little bit smaller, but still bigger than what we had before. And once we're done with this, let's just create a hover option, right? So we have nav, ul, li, a, and pseudo class hover. And over here, we would write that as we're hovering, we would want a border over here like this, border, and this should be 2 pixels solid, let's say black over here like this. And after that, what we're going to do is actually create a border radius over here, and that's going to be 0.5 EMs, something like this. So let's check it out. So see this is what we have, right? And after we style over here this hovering option, I actually want to style my class that is active, right? So remember this class, so I'm going to create over here, but I'm going to show you. Over here you see this class over here, this active one. I want to style this one, right? So I go back to main, and I'm just going to again create a little bit more space for us so we can work better. And I'm going to say that I would want a color. This is going to be the font color to be green over here like this. And after that, we're going to say that a border should be something like, let's say, I don't know, 0.2 EM over here, and it's going to be solid green over here like this. This is going to be our border, and the border radius is going to be, let's say, 0.5 EMs, right? These little nice corners, right? So now we have done that. Now you can see that this is our class, right? However, you can see that it's still, if I'm working over here, if I'm working over here, you can see that it's turning black, and I don't want that to happen, right? So what I would need to over here is I would need to add another pseudo class, and I would say that not, and over here we're going to say active. And you can see what happens is that I'm going to be hovering over. You can see that nothing is happening because I excluded over here this active class. So now we're pretty much done over here just with this basic over here, this basic our view, the smallest view that we had, pretty much the view that we have in the small screens. And now we're actually ready to go ahead and actually style it over here on a bigger screen, right? because we obviously don't want it to be a showing like this on a bigger screen, right? We want actually to be these list items to be in line. So what do we need to do over here? We need to actually create a media query over here like this, and I'm going to say that this is going to be media and this is going to be screen, and then we're going to write what would be the size. And I'm just going to start with 600 over here, but we can obviously change it as we want. So I'm just going to write 600 pixels, and over here I'm going to start creating the rules. And for the navbar, my rule is going to be that first I would want a nav ul li over here, and I would want them to be display over here, display inline block. So we go over here, we say inline block, and after that we would say that we would want a width to be like, I don't know, like 8 em, something like this. So now let's check it out what we have. So as I'm making the screen bigger, you can see what happens, right? You can see how right away they all move to the actual side. However, you can see the problem over here right now is everything is in that color, right? So what I would need to do right now, I'd actually need to go back over here and create a background color for my nav. What I'm going to say is nav is to have a background color the same that we had, right? So we have a background color, and we're pretty much going to set it to, let's say, to something like, again, this 555, right? So I'm going to set hashtag 555, 555, something like this. So let's check it out what we have. So again, as we move it over here, now you can see how they all fall in line, and we can have a pretty typical menu instead of like what we had over here in a smaller screen, right? So this is going to be pretty much done for the nav, and we're pretty much ready to go ahead and actually start creating the header over here and actually start moving along with our website. Now again, we're not going to be covering right now this button. We're actually going to do it in a pretty much last section of our website, because that's going to include jQuery. So we just want to get more familiar with HTML and CSS first.